Hello boys and gals, it's me Saikapath, and instead of making another slope video or attempting to save myself after having a podcast with a low material consumer, today I'll be reviewing Xanadu next, ladies and gentlemen. A Japanese action RPG made in 2005 for some shit handheld console that looks like a fucking taco and then released my piss. Before I start this review, I'm going to show you the official trailer for this game. Alright, so now that this abysmal attempt at making fun of Mutahar and his mediocre videos has been finished, let's actually get into this shit. There are rumors and conspiracy theories about some phantom castle that appears when you're approaching Harlech Island, and some slave master by the name of Charlotte decides to debunk it once and for all. While on the boat, she and her nameless slave knight who you'll be playing as see that castle, but it disappears once they have docked on the island. So by the orders of your slave master, you'll be investigating what the fuck is going on this island. However, during your exploration in the dungeons, you get into a fight with some cocky knight named the Dvorak, who kills you by the power of tranime bullshit. This is of course not the end, as you get revived by the priestess Lisa. But you are not completely alive, because if you leave the Harlech Island, you'll die once again. In order to become completely alive again, you'll have to go on an adventure to get a Dragon Slayer sword and ensure that you can revive yourself to be a fucking slave once again. Before you start the game, you first need to name the protagonist you'll be playing as. However, only 6 characters are allowed to be typed in. So if you want to name yourself something edgy like Destroyer of the Chosen People 666, then you'd be better off not beating around the bush. Once you have the name ready, it's time to go on an adventure. You'll be starting in a house at a village, and after you go outside, you'll see shops where you can get things like keys, equipment, and weapons. There's also a shrine where Lisa can give you bonus attribute points or level you down. I'm not going to explain to you why there's this option in the game, since I have plans like playing Dynasty Warriors 6 Empires to forget that the things I used to love have turned into soulless mediocrity, because the powers that be demand that the masses have to argue with each other about soulless mediocrity to ensure they get more money and power. But I assure you that the leveling down option in the game is important. When you click on the red icon near the text that says menu, you'll be shown the player's status on the right side. The stats show your name, how much health you have, how much skill spell points you have, and other typical RPG shit. You can also store here your items, weapons, and your skills and spells, which has the Star of David as its icon. Either this is Japanese developers using symbols because they think they're cool, or that one Reddit post explaining Rikio's backstory gave us a huge forbidden information. Anyway, I suppose you think this is very similar to Diablo. But there are differences that make Xanadu Next different from a game made by breast milk thieves. While Xanadu Next has classes, they are nothing more than titles. So there are no magic spells that are limited to a class. And this is a one-player game where you can only play as a one protagonist. So you don't need to choose a character that has a certain class assigned to them. Xanadu Next also has a very special type of combat system compared to Diablo. In Diablo, all you need to do is click the left mouse button repeatedly to kill your enemy. But in Xanadu Next, it's much more slower and encourages tactical thinking, since you can do massive damage when you're behind your prey. Another example of the differences are that Diablo's dungeons are mostly randomly generated, and that is because Diablo was originally a roguelike instead of an action RPG. Xanadu Next's dungeons are handcrafted, and they are actually memorable and fun to explore because of their simple yet effective design, and the fact that I'm not reminded how most indie games are either roguelikes or Metroidvanias, because the developer is some mongoloid who makes nostalgia their whole fucking personality. Skills and guardians are also what sets apart Xanadu Next from Diablo. You first need to have skills selected and also have the correct weapon, and then you can perform a skill to cause huge damage, which is a nice addition and makes the aforementioned combat system deeper compared to Diablo's rapid mouse clicking bullshit. Guardians are pretty much your Tard Wrangler that will be available after getting Sword Skulled by Dvorak. You have a variety of guardians, such as Fairy Elf Woman, Pokemon, Old Magic Man, a fucking plant, and even a creepy horror girl. The first guardian is for free, but the others are hidden, so you got to check the areas well to ensure you get the guardian you want. One last comparison that should be mentioned is that Xanadu Next is not a game where the loot is the main focus. This is actually very refreshing, as people who play Diablo and Diablo-like games are absolute junkies that get a dopamine kick from getting some fictional objects, while their parents are beyond disappointed that their descendants have turned into an absolute waste of potential and they have to cope with what they have produced. In general, the differences in this game really make it unique and great, and you won't feel like you're playing a generic Diablo clone that doesn't do anything impressive to stand out. The only negative thing I can say about this game is that there are slime enemies, and their inclusion in Japanese RPGs is as equally annoying as seeing BMW 5 Series 530i in modern RPGs. While graphics in this game are not impressive, and not to mention the opening FMV looks like it belongs in a PS1 game, I can say at least the art style has a very nice appeal to the eyes. The soundtrack is pretty good, and I guarantee some songs will be stuck in your head. The game has no voice acting, so you will only read text, and for some it might be a negative, but for me it's an absolute plus. Oh, and the sound design is pretty great and high quality as well. Xanadu Next is an awesome action RPG. I know a lot of people like to throw around the phrase hidden gem to games that aren't even hidden, nor a gem, but this is a game where the phrase indeed applies. If you like action RPGs that aren't just generic Diablo clones and actually do something unique to differentiate from Diablo, then there's a very high chance you'll have a very fantastic time with Xanadu Next. This is also the last time Xanadu series was set in a fantasy setting, as Nihon Falcom saw how Persona was getting popular. Now thanks to all video essay creators making videos about how Persona is deep and complex and shit. So Nihon Falcom decided to make Tokyo Xanadu, and it looks like they are not going to make a Xanadu game in a fantasy setting for a very long time. At least you can get Xanadu Next on digital stores, so if you're in the mood for some role-playing and shit, then go ahead and get the game. Or you can sail the 7 seas. That is also an option, no matter what corporate bootlicking shills will tell you. That's it, go get some rest.
But I'm a chud. I'm an incel. What are they doing here? Billions must die.